morning, everybody. It's 8:05 a.m. here in New York City. I'm Julie Roginski, and I am here by myself today because Michelle Kinney is a little under the weather. So I'm going to do the show today, but it's okay because it's Friday and it's an AMA and everything's okay. Having said that, my mother's calling, so let me just take this call while you guys are here. Nope, I missed it. Anyway, when your mom calls, you got to take the call. As you can see, I am a little discombobulated this morning, but I do have my amazing mug. I'm going to talk a little bit about what's happening in the news today because it's really important. Then we could do an AMA. It's nuts. Trump is losing his grip on the GOP really, really badly. And the best example of that is what happened in Indiana yesterday, where the Indiana Senate, the legislature, just bailed on him. They lost the attempt to have redistricting happen mid-cycle in Indiana by a blowout, 19-31 vote against his proposed map that would have gerrymandered 2 more safe red seats. And it was a loyalty test. I mean, that was the whole thing. It's just unbelievable. They had J.D. Vance doing this. They had, it was non-stop J.D. Vance coming after them. They had Trump calling legislators himself. They had Turning Point USA, as much as we all talk about Erica Kirk talking about grief, quote unquote. Turning Point USA was working overtime, threatening these legislators, saying that they would work against them next year if they were not going to fall in line. And they didn't. And they didn't for a number of reasons. You know, they talked about the fact that they're small C conservatives. They talked about the fact that they weren't going to be big-footed by Washington. But one of the reasons that they didn't do this, I think, from what it sounds like, is this incredible pressure that MAGA was placing on them. They were doxing them. They were sending pizzas to their house. They were threatening their family. They were saying there were anonymous pipe bomb threats. There were swattings. This whole I know where you live notion of sending pizza to their houses. I think MAGA thought that they would fall in line. But in fact, it completely backfired on Trump. And of course, now Trump and Mike Johnson are claiming that, there was no major pressure campaign, that Trump really wasn't that involved, but that's complete and utter bullshit. Trump was calling these legislators personally, these state senators, right before the vote yesterday. And it's interesting because in addition to all of this, it turns out that the White House was threatening to withhold federal funding from Indiana if they don't fall in line. And they continue to threaten to withhold federal funding from Indiana if they don't fall in line. I don't know what planet Donald Trump is living on. But to be very clear, the only people who are going to be harmed by this is Donald Trump and Republicans. Because Indiana is controlled by Republicans. They're not stupid, the people of Indiana. They understand, because I assume that the governor and state legislators will say that they can't fund their priorities because Donald Trump is going out after them and not funding them. This is what he taught when he talked about shooting people on Fifth Avenue and his supporters are going to stand behind him. That's not happening as much anymore. And I think the reason it's not happening as much anymore is not just because of the blowouts you've seen in places like New Jersey and Virginia and California, and those are kind of Democratic leaning state, but you're also seeing state house seats in Georgia flip. A seat that Donald Trump won by 12 points flipped to the Democrats on Tuesday. In Miami, the mayorship, which had been in Republican hands for 28 years, just flipped to the Democrats. And there are 2 reasons for this. One is the economy is a shit show. Even if he gives himself an A+++++, people understand what they're paying for and they understand it's expensive. But more relevantly and equally as importantly, they are they're just absolutely appalled about the way things are being conducted in this country. And as much as we talk about democracy being an abstract thing, it's people are starting to realize it. They're starting to see their country completely being eviscerated. They're starting to see their way of life over the last 249 years. And it's just, it's just starting to seep not just into Democratic states, but it's starting to seep also into Republican states. I saw a poll not too long ago, just over the past month or so, where you are having undecided voters, undeclared voters, not Democrats, not Republicans, undeclared voters, just turning away from this president. And you're starting to see a segment of Republicans, not the crazy MAGA base, not the like 30%, but the rest of them, starting to really have doubts about the decision they made. So, Kevin, you asked, Julie, do you think Trump can appeal this Indiana court loss to the Supreme Court like he did with Texas? No, because Texas actually voted to have those maps, and then a lower court said those maps weren't legal, and the Supreme Court, of course, which is no longer a court, but it's just an arm of MAGA, overturned it in Texas. Here, there's nothing to appeal. There's nothing. They just said no. They just stood up to him. And, I don't know. I haven't checked Truth Social today. I don't know if he's still sleeping it off or what's happening, but he's not complaining. He's not bitching. I think because he's trying to pretend that he really had nothing to do with this, that it really wasn't a loss, that this was somebody else. He wasn't really involved. It wasn't a big deal. He was involved. To be clear, whatever Mike Johnson says and whatever Donald Trump says, the president of the United States was making phone calls moments before this came down for a vote. And, this is just one of several examples where he had a really bad day yesterday, just so people know. A federal grand jury tried to indict his arch nemesis, Attorney General of New York, Letitia James, again yesterday. It failed twice. Again, they could not indict her. Now, the old saying about how you can indict a ham sandwich. And the reality is that apparently you can indict a ham sandwich, but you can't indict Tish James twice. And Abby Lowell, who's her attorney, who's actually a very good friend of my husband's, is an incredible lawyer. He's just one of the, if you're in trouble, Abby Lowell's your guy. But I will also say that he said that he has never seen anything like this, where a federal grand jury refuses to indict somebody, not once, but twice. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Resist, you wanted me to talk about the chip technology that Trump gave away? Yeah, he gave it away to China. The country that we keep hearing is lapping us with respect to technology. And he gave it away to China, but, and this is key for all the times that he's called Democrats socialists, the United States government is going to get a cut of whatever NVIDIA sells to China. Now, I don't know about you, but that's the definition of socialism to me. We are now taking over parts of the private sector. The biggest chip NVIDIA is, I think, I don't know if the first $1 trillion company. It's just, they're making an incredible amount of money. And that it's going to the federal government, but it's also going to go to Trump's pocket. It's socialism. And these people are living on the government dime. And by these people, I mean him and his family and his friends and everybody who's in his inner circle. That's what this whole Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff thing was about. I don't know if you guys noticed, but the bid for Warner Brothers Discovery that the Ellisons are putting in, this hostile takeover, is being funded by our friends in the Middle East, or I should say Trump's friends in the Middle East, and wait for it. You ready? Affinity partners. Who does Affinity Partners belong to? Does anybody have any guesses in the chat? Jared Kushner. So he is going to stop this merger, this bid that Netflix put in that Warner Brothers has accepted. He's going to stop it at the regulatory level. Purely, it's insane, purely so that he could give a giveaway to his friends in the Middle East who are probably buying his crypto coins and his meme coins and funding Jared Kushner to the tune of $2 billion. But now it's not even quiet. Now it's out in the open. Kushner is now part of this. He's going to give it away to Jared, to Ivanka, to his little girl. You tell me. You tell me. And somebody here said Kushner is the luckiest doorknob on the planet. 100%. That guy almost bankrupted his father's real estate firm and only got bailed out because he happened to be working at the White House. And yep, once again, Qatar came to his rescue and bailed him out. He had over leveraged himself. He had bought a building in New York called 666 Fifth Avenue. Interesting address. And 666 was about to bankrupt his company. And, you know, it's fascinating because like Ivanka, like she kind of met her little mini dad, right? Another grifter, another one. I mean, this is what's happening. If you, I keep going to back to this NSS, National Security Strategy document that they released. The entire thing is a grift, and it's a giveaway, and it's a giveaway to the Trumps and to their friends and to their, you know, to their inner circle. And the only way you get anywhere is because you are connected to them. And the only way that Europe is going to get back on his good side, I guess, is if they bend the knee and start buying crypto or whatever he wants them to do to enrich himself. We are about to drop a podcast that we recorded yesterday with Congressman Jim Himes, the head of the ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee. And I'm going to tell you, he has some incredible things to say. But one of the things he said that really inspired me to do a Substack on this today, and I recommend that people listen to this podcast. It's the inaugural Mayday podcast. We're really excited. So please like and subscribe, so that you guys can know when this podcast drops. If you haven't liked and subscribed yet, please like and subscribe. But he said effectively that the thing that makes the United States unique, back in the Soviet days, we were kind of competitive with them militarily. Now we're kind of competitive with China technologically. But what makes us unique and has always made us strong is that we've had allies. We've had friends, not people that we needed to ally with us at the point of a gun, which is what the Warsaw Pact was in the Soviet Union. Not people who are allied with us because they're terrified of us, but people who are allied with us because they want to be allied with us. NATO voluntarily allied with us. I mean, that's a voluntary alliance. Nobody's conscripted. Nobody's forced into being an alliance in NATO. Countries are clamoring to join NATO. You just saw what happened just over the last couple of years. We had the Scandinavian countries that have been completely impartial for generations now suddenly say we want to join NATO. Ukraine wants to join NATO. People want to be allied with the United States. The Five Eyes is a voluntary alliance. They want to share information with us. Why? Because we have been that shining city on the hill. I mean, I don't want to get hokey, but we were that beacon to which people aspired, and they understood that we were the leader of the liberal order, liberal with the lowercase l. And now we are something else. I mean, something completely unrelated. And, Johnny, you had a question. Yesterday, I had the thought that China is doing to the U.S. economy something similar to what Reagan did to Russia's economy in the 80s. Interested in your thoughts. Reagan didn't do anything to the Russian economy in the 1980s at all. The Russian economy was going to a negative GDP well before Reagan in the 1970s. Before Reagan became president, they overspent on the military. They overspent on propping up their satellite states in Eastern Europe. They launched a stupid war in Afghanistan that completely drained their treasury, so that by the time the Soviet Union collapsed, and yes, we had a nuclear arms race and other arms races that also drained them. But by the time the Soviet Union collapsed, it collapsed because they couldn't afford to keep it together anymore. I mean, when you started having the Berlin Wall come down and you had Erich Honecker, there's a name I haven't thought about in ages, Erich Honecker, the head of East Germany, the GDR, call Gorbachev and say, we need help, send help. Gorbachev said, we can't help you. We don't have the money. And that's when the Cold War was effectively over. They just could not support their satellite states anymore. They couldn't prop them up because Afghanistan had drained them so much, because their own economy had drained them so much in the 70s, before Reagan. So China's doing something different. China is not necessarily trying to drain us. China thinks we're a declining empire. I mean, China thinks this is going to be the Chinese century, and maybe they're right with the way Trump is going. I mean, the one thing that we always had in this country is that people wanted to come here. We were attracting the best talent. Nobody is going to China to study. People are coming here to study because we had free universities and we had free speech and we had free thought. And all of that is gone. All of that is gone. What's happening at universities and colleges is not just about a bunch of kids screaming from the river to the sea. I mean, that's the predicate. What they're doing is they are going to Columbia, for instance, and they're not punishing Columbia by saying to Columbia, expel those kids or else. They're cutting billions in research funding. Not to these kids, not to these college freshmen or sophomores who are, taking their Econ 101 classes. They're cutting research funding that is curing Alzheimer's and cancer and every other disease under the sun. And so what happens? A lot of that research is conducted by people who have come here from other countries who understand that this is the best place to do research because nobody's going to interfere in your research. That the science will dictate and nothing else, that politics will not dictate. Those researchers, they can't just stop the research. I mean, just because the funding is pulled, the research is pulled. What do they do now? They have to go somewhere else. So they're going to go to Europe or they're going to go somewhere else to do the research. And that's how we stop being a country that attracts the best talent in the world. I mean, these are brilliant people that we're attracting. They're going elsewhere. I mean, if I were Narendra Modi in India, I would take whatever money I have and put it into attracting or keeping Indian researchers in India. If I were Oxford or Cambridge or any of these great research universities all over Europe, I would do the same, because you're going to attract people who are then going to put roots down in your country and they're going to contribute to your country and they're going to make your country great. That's what makes the country great. Instead, we have a grifter who is selling golden visas. That went live yesterday. For $1 million for a golden visa. You get an EB1 visa if you give $1 million. So who are we attracting? Russian oligarchs, Saudis, Qataris. What are those people going to contribute? They're going to come here with their $1 million. They're going to go buy up some real estate. Maybe they'll stay here, maybe not. It's a good passport to have. But they're not actually sitting at Columbia or Harvard or any of these other places and trying to cure cancer and helping the rest of us. If you live in New York City, you see who these people are. You go to Saks Fifth Avenue, it's a lot of Russian money, or it was before Ukraine. A lot of Middle Eastern money. You see them walking around. It's a problem. Not that they're not welcome here, but what's fascinating about all of this is that they are just they're selling this to people who aren't contributing or promising to contribute anything other than $1 million to Donald Trump or whoever, to the United States Treasury, I guess. I mean, yeah, Lutnick says the money goes into the Treasury. It does. It's $1 million. It's $1 million. And we're bringing in, great. Honestly, if I had $1 million and I were living in Russia, I'd do it. I'd do it. There are a lot of Russian oligarchs who are sanctioned by this country or should be sanctioned by this country, who now will need access to the American banking system to launder their money and as American citizens, and they're going to get it. They're going to get it. Think about this. If you are some I don't know, if you're a mobster, if you're whoever, and you need a place to launder money, it's a lot easier to do it as an American citizen with access to our banking system than it is if you are not allowed into this country because of whatever reason. It's again, I've said this before. If I were Joseph Stalin sitting in the Kremlin in 1946, and I said, I want to bring down the United States, and I'm going to play the super long game, and I'm going to take some little Russian boy who's going to be born the next year from some village, and I'm going to somehow have him adopted out by an American family and groomed to become president of the United States, they could not have done a better job than if Donald Trump had been that boy. I mean, like, he's not a Russian. I don't, look, he's the whole Agent Krasnov thing. I don't know. He's not a Russian agent, but it doesn't matter. He's doing everything. Like, at this point, does it matter? He's doing everything he wants, everything they want. There's something happening in the Eastern European newspapers, and I can't tell if this is just a Russian disinformation tactic. So I want to tell you guys this with a massive grain of salt, because it could be. But there is that TASS is reporting, which is the Russian news agency, and it's been picked up by some anti-Russian media in Eastern Europe as well, that apparently Trump wants to, or wanted to, create his own kind of G7 with Russia and China, that we would stop allying ourselves economically with the world's liberal democracies, the biggest democracies in the West, and start allying ourselves with Russia and China. I mean, I don't know if that's true, but it sounds kind of plausible, right? It sounds kind of plausible. And I don't really want to spread it as fact, because again, you always have to ask why Russian media is running something like this as a part of a disinformation campaign. But to have Russia, whose economy is like the size of, I don't even know. I mean, their economies, I don't even know what to compare it to, what state to compare it to, but it's smaller than Texas, I think. To have them part of some sort of, like, why? Why? I mean, their economy is absurd. Why are we economically even thinking about allying ourselves with them? Because of oil, right? They have natural resources. They have access to the Arctic, so they have rare earth minerals. And that's fine if they can figure out how to exploit them, but they don't have the technology to exploit them, and they don't have the manpower to exploit them, because their men are all fighting in Ukraine, and their brain drain is gone. I mean, think about this. At one point in the 1950s, these are people that beat us to space. And they quickly developed the hydrogen bomb. I mean, after, a few American spies gave them the technology, but they had the ability to do that. They don't have the ability to do that anymore. And think about why. Because the brain drain is gone. All the educated people, the scientists, the people that know how to do this, are long gone. They are long gone. That's what's going to happen here. That's what I want to warn about. I mean, my family was part of that brain drain in 1980. The most educated, kind of erudite people, a lot of them left during the Soviet days if they could get out. But many of them left after the Ukraine invasion. They didn't want to be part of it anymore. They didn't want to be conscripted. They didn't want to be silenced about protesting about this stuff. That is what is on the cusp of happening here. They're trying to silence people. They're going after people. There was a chilling story in, like a very chilling story in Mother Jones today, which I will try to get a link to, but there was a reporter who was doing research on one of Pete Hegseth's underlings, who Pete Hegseth considers a mentor and who he served with in Iraq. And it turns out that this guy has a really weird Goodreads thing about, like, hooking up with ladyboys in Thailand, and that's what they call them in Thailand. So it's not, I'm not making that name up. And some, like, weird, like, rape fetish when it comes to Asian women. I don't know. It's all very bizarre. Anyway, so he asked about it. He just inquired about it. Well, 5 seconds later, Jack Posobiec emailed him almost verbatim, quoting his email to the Pentagon, threatening him, saying that they're going to expose him for some, personal misdeeds he had. Um, uh, and um, it's just, I'm trying to find this thing. It's absurd. It's absurd, and it's just they're now threatening journalists. They're trying to prevent journalists from doing stories by personally going after the journalists, trying to expose the journalists. And it's crazy. Oh, look who's here. Michelle Kinney has just entered the studio. Hello, Michelle. How you feeling?
Okay. I'm a little tired. I'm tired, TGIF, but thanks to the 50 people, I think it sounded like there was 50 outside my window, blasting some sort of music that shook the entire building with everyone yelling Ariba, Ariba. I wish I was making that up. I wish I was making it up. That is literally, I was like, what are they saying? And I hear Ariba, Ariba. I don't, it's cool, guys. Literally in the 8 o'clock hour. That's a totally cool thing to do. So, anyways, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go throw a hat on and I'm going to go see Julie and the gang. So here I am.
Hello, Michelle. Everybody's under the weather. My little boy's under the weather, or at least he's pretending to be under the weather, so he didn't have to go to school today. There's a massive flu going around New York City. I don't know if people.
Really bad. Yeah. A
Great.
lot of
That's not
people in
great.
my husband's office too have got
Yeah,
it.
people are dropping like flies. And I'm trying to think what else. Michelle, we've gone around the world since you've been on for the last half hour. But you guys, this is actually meant to be an AMA on Fridays, so
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
keep going. Um, ask us whatever. Ask us questions.
Yeah,
We are ready
please.
to answer. If I could pull Eric Honecker out of my what at 8 o'clock in the morning, then I'm ready. I am ready. I'm ready.
I don't know what that means, but I'm happy for you.
Well, Michelle, if you must know, I'm just kidding. Eric
Mm.
Honecker was. We're talking about the Soviet Union, and I said Eric Honecker
Oh.
was the last communist leader of
Mm.
the German Democratic Republic of East
Oh,
Germany.
see,
Yeah.
the more
Oh,
you
it's
know.
Milo story. Oh, that's right. All right,
Oh,
you guys
that's right. That's
you guys
right.
ready for
Really,
Julie Gunn? It's Friday. It's a Julie
yes,
Gunn
really
story.
quick. I do just want to say the McCaber Tavern saying, "Hey, I'm in Measles Central, South Carolina." I did read that measles is having like an historic measles outbreak that going into the holiday season, there's just like nothing stopping it. Like it's out of control. So please, if you get a measles booster, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Anyways, but let's
Yeah.
hear about Milo.
Oh, so Milo. So back in 2016, I was
Well,
working with
first of all, let's tell people who Milo is
Oh, just
first.
to people who know who Milo Yiannopoulos is, I feel like I need to pull up a picture of Milo.
I'll find it. I'll find it.
Yeah. So I didn't know either. So before the story began. So back in 2016, I had to go to the Republican National Convention with Fox. And it was a very
Terrible.
fraught time because that is when the whole Roger Ailes thing was happening. And
Mm,
signed, I think, right in the middle of the 2016 convention. It was a very weird time. So there was a rooftop bar that everybody was kind of gathered at. And it wasn't just Fox. It was kind of like, if you worked at these networks, like there's a rooftop bar that everybody's gathered at. So I'm sitting at this rooftop bar and with a bunch of my Fox friends. And then I see a bunch of my political people who I know who are Republican from the great Garden State of New Jersey. And they are we're sitting there, we're having a few drinks, and all of a sudden I see this guy with this shock blonde hair, dressed in
mm,
head to toe Louis Vuitton, some
mhm.
Louis Vuitton coat with the LVs on it, and this big Louis Vuitton bag. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this doesn't make sense. Like, who is this guy, and why is he hanging out with a bunch of state Republicans that come out? Like, it was just, he completely stood out. And he was wearing these like kind of pimp platform boots, and I was like, all right, this is really weird. So everybody's like, who is that guy? Who is that guy? And then whatever. And people seem to know who he was. I just didn't know who he was because I don't hang out in that world. And then my friend Charlie Gasparino, who I don't know if people here know from Fox, he's also a columnist for the New York Post, said to me, "Hey, what are you doing for dinner tonight?" I said, "I don't have any plans." He goes, "Why don't you come and have dinner with me and a few of my friends?" I said, "Sure." He goes, we have a private room in this restaurant, and so just come with us. I said, "Sure." So I show up,
Oh,
and
boy.
oh boy, it's me. It's a very small dinner. It's me, Rick Grinnell,
Oh, God.
um, some guy who was the first campaign manager for Trump, whose name escapes me right now, but he was like the very first on board. The guy
Brad
who
Parscale?
no, 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 way before Brad Pascal. I'm talking like New York.
Oh,
I forgot
the
his name.
guy who was like the useful idiot. That guy?
Maybe. Me. I mean, they're
Yeah,
all
yeah,
used.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's that guy, and it's this guy in head
I
to
can
toe
picture
Louis
him in my
Vuitton.
head, yeah.
Yeah, this guy Louis Vuitton. Um, and it turned out that was Milo. And Milo is telling us how he is going to go to Stockholm, which had just had an influx of, I think it was either Iraq, I forgot where, but there was a Muslim influx of people fleeing war and destruction in the Middle East, and how Stockholm was where a lot of them had ended up, and how he was going to go there, and he was going to ride through Stockholm naked through their neighborhood like Lady Godiva. It was not Corey Lewandowski. It was before
Yeah,
Corey.
it's the guy before. I know exactly who you're
Yeah.
talking about, and I can't
Um,
place him.
yeah, I can't picture it either. And he was going to ride through Stockholm naked like Lady Godiva in order to tweak these poor Muslim refugees because he wanted to prove that they were now in a Western country and they had to sit there and watch his penis. And I quote, "I have to watch my dick swinging in the wind as I'm sitting on this horse like Lady Godiva riding to this." And I said to him, and everybody's like, "Ha ha ha, this is really funny." Not Charlie Gasparino. Charlie Gasparino was like kind of rolling his eyes, but everybody else was like, "Hey, this is hilarious, Milo. This is great."
Hmm.
And I was like, I have a question. And he's like, "Yeah." I go, "But why would you do that?" He's like, "Well, they got to know where they live now." I was like, but why?" I go, "But why? Like, would you do that um in a Orthodox Jewish neighborhood?
Right,
Would you do that if you went to like a convent with a bunch of nuns? Like, but why would you do that?"
right.
And basically, he just thought it was absolutely. He's like, "It's gonna be great content." And this is 2016. This is
Oh
before
my
content was
God.
really, it's gonna be great content. And I can't wait. He's like, "I'm gonna get arrested. It's gonna be fantastic." And I was like, "You're not gonna get arrested. You're gonna get killed. And by the
Yeah,
way, you're kind of deserving it." And he just thought the whole thing was, and he was talking such a big game, incredibly big game, could not stop talking. They all thought it was the funniest thing in the world. He was like sitting there, just completely out of hand, crazy, wackadoodle shit. And then I ran into him somewhere down the road and I said, "Did you ever go to Stockholm?" And he's like, "No, I just realized I probably really get hurt." I was like, "Yeah, you fucking
yeah,
liar. Of course you're going to get hurt."
yeah,
But the whole point of just like talking himself up and just really trying to gin himself up and trying to like that's when I understood. That was kind of my first inkling of what MAGA was all about. It was
mm,
all performative content.
yeah.
There was no reason. He couldn't actually give a good reason as to why he was doing this guy. Yes.
That's Milo.
That's
That's
Milo.
Milo, and you have to, like, picture him. He's British, he's gay, but also, like, yelling at people for being gay. Like, it's a very strange thing where he's like, "I regret bringing gay to people." Like, it's very
And it's
he's
like
an
you didn't bring
odd
gay
duck.
to anybody. Yeah.
He's an
Yeah.
odd duck, and he's had many looks. That's one of them. So the reason that he has come to the forefront of the news cycle lately, um, my mom's texting me, no, it's not Paul Manafort either. I can picture him. The
No.
guy, he's bald, right?
Yes, and he's kind of chunky and yeah.
Yeah,
I'll figure.
I'm
I'll
like
keep
can't
talking and
for the
I'll
life of
remember.
me.
Yeah.
Anyways, like kind of a goober. So Milo put out this whole tweet thread basically saying that Benny Johnson, who's this MAGA podcaster influencer thing, is gay. And then Benny Johnson obviously was like, I have to protect faming me and I'm going to, pray for your healing. And so, you know, this whole back and forth is happening and obviously everybody's talking about it. It's hot gossip right now. But I guess good for Milo. Well, Milo said all of this. It began when he went on Tim Pool's podcast and started talking about Benny Johnson. And Benny Johnson is kind of like, never stops talking about his family and his wife and every day it's like traditional values. But there's been long these rumors about him at when he was at BuzzFeed, which by the way, when Benny Johnson was at BuzzFeed, he was fired for plagiarizing. He's kind of had a sordid past. But there's always been rumors about him, and like some of the stuff at BuzzFeed said that there was something that happened at a Christmas party, and like, so you know, that's how all this happened. So
Yeah.
Milo.
I just Googled Trump's first political aide, and the funny thing is, this guy has been so erased it doesn't even come up. It will occur to me at 3 o'clock in the morning, and
Yeah,
I
I
will
can
figure it out.
picture him. And like there was some kind of controversy with like Russia or something. I remember and I can picture him and he's bald. And I can't remember. Julie must have had or about 25 Dr. Peppers.
I had a little bit more than 25 Dr. Peppers there, my friend. I had about 25 drinks just to get through that dinner. It was one of the more I have to say, I'm actually glad I went. It was a totally fascinating dinner to see what these guys were like without the cameras on, and it is everything you would assume. I mean,
Yeah.
they're and they were confident they were going to win, and to me, it was like a joke. I was like, okay, you like guys, like enjoy it.
Someone wrote Steve Schmidt.
No, it's not.
Listen, nothing surprises me these days, but no, it wasn't Steve.
It was not.
It wasn't Steve.
Yeah.
And somebody said the theater guy that did those, that's James O'Keefe, who is the founder of Project Veritas. So it's not him either.
Brian Lizzie news. Yes, we got some news. So
Is there a new one out?
No, well, there was a new one out on Wednesday that he
Oh,
did
there
not.
was?
Yeah, he did not paywall it. Interestingly, I think people were upset that he was kind of making people pay for stuff that wasn't that great. But
I know the last one was kind of a bummer.
It was a bummer. But Olivia Newsy's book came out. She sold about 1,600 copies or so.
Yeah, guys, 1,600 copies.
Nobody's buying the shit, my friends. She's trying to kind of make herself into like, well, nobody understands. This is like the Me Too movement and blah blah blah. No.
That's not what this is.
That's not what this is. You slept with a source, and you slept with a guy that you were covering.
Well, that's the thing that like when Tim Miller was asking her about this, and just being like, well, you had this information about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and like like he's not even a Republican. So you really could have had an influence maybe on his confirmation here. Maybe somebody would have flipped a vote, like had they, and she's like, but I don't really know how to answer this question because it's like a personal, like it was very, but, and then Tim Miller kept having to go back to it. It's like, yeah, but you wrote about this and this is your, you were protecting him, you were working for him. Like it was just, she kept trying to like do this little dance around answering a question. It was very strange, very, very strange. And I'm also seeing a lot of opinions about Steve Schmidt in the,
all of a sudden,
in the chat.
Schmidt.
So I, just so people know, if you don't know this, I used to work for Steve Schmidt. For a while.
And I don't get it. I mean, like, I don't get. First of all, I don't get why Ryan Liz sat on this information. I mean, I guess
him too, right?
No, I guess like revenge is a dish best served cold, and we'll talk more about this today because we have an 11 o'clock with our 11 o'clock with Jeff Jarvis if Michelle makes it Michelle is still alive by then.
TBD. TBD.
TBD for Michelle, but Judge Jarvis is going to be on at 11. We'll talk more about that then. But it's the whole thing is just it's good gossip. It's kind of tawdry. It's kind of good, like a good distraction. But if you kind of put all of that away, she was sitting on info, as was Ryan Lizza.
Mm-hmm.
That was really,
Yeah.
really bad.
Yeah. Speaking
And
of measles outbreaks
yeah,
in South Carolina, like
not Jason Miller.
this, no, it's not Jason Miller either. Yeah. It's, yeah. And it's not George Papadopoulos. Um, uh, See, it already went out my brain. All I had to do was say one
Sorry,
thing,
talk
and
about a
then
measles outbreak.
measles outbreak. Yes. Like he is responsible. He is responsible. And as the Health and Human Services Secretary, it is his responsibility to even be doing anything about this. But all he's doing is telling people not to get vaccinated. And it's people like him for the last couple of decades that have caused I mean, measles had all but like been eradicated in the United States, and then it came back because of all these people who think that they somehow, you know they've got the, oh, I did my own research. Oh, did you? Did you? Did
Yeah.
you? And this is I love that they cast Woody to play Schmidt in the movie. Well, that was a choice. um an inaccurate one, but it is. And then Cynthia has something to, like, I'm gonna keep my opinions to a minimum here, but yeah. Anyways, but yeah, measles was gone. RFK brought it back. That's exactly right. And like, listen,
They
as
could have
a very
stopped it.
privileged Kennedy was uh parachuting into, like, where was it, Guam or something like this, and like it, telling people not to vaccinate their children in places that vaccines are, not easy to come by and are life-saving for entire communities in smaller countries with way less resources. So, people, ooh, what's the tea about Schmidt? I know, guys, I
Oh,
can't, I can't, I can't. Um, all I'll say is I used to work for him. And yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know why they sat on this. They sat on this. Um, I don't know, Julie. I don't know.
it's not good.
No, does anyone else have any more questions, by the
That
way?
are not Steve Schmidt related. Because why are we talking about Steve Schmidt? I don't know. How does Steve Schmidt even get into this
Somebody
conversation?
said something about, I like the way that Steve Schmidt talks. I like the cadence of his voice. I'm like, try being on a Zoom call with him where he
Yeah.
goes
Hey,
off on a tangent about Gettysburg, and he doesn't stop, and he just goes on and on and on. And we're all sitting there like taking notes, going, okay. Um, yeah. I mean, I once had to host him in my living room in like 2021 because uh he was doing some town hall or like a fundraiser or something, and he was in the city, and they needed somewhere for him to go to do this, and I think they were afraid that he wouldn't show up. And so one of the other bosses was like, "Michelle, you have a nice little living room." And I have a small, like, I live in New York City, I don't have a big place. And I'd never met Steve outside of like a Zoom. I'm like, "No, please. Come on, please. Don't make me do this. Please don't make me do this." And he's like, "No, it'll be great, Michelle. You'll do it." And I'm like, "Oh my God. Oh my God." And so I'm like, I gotta host Steve Schmidt in my house. It was like the weirdest, most awkward day. He came in. You want to talk about getting distracted? In the middle of the fundraiser, he gets up, he starts walking around looking at my DAR certificates, and I'm like, sit down. I'm getting in my ear the people being like, where is he? And I'm like, sit down. This is all happening in my tiny ass little living room right here. It was a very yeah. He didn't stay with the organization much longer after that. But anyways, if anyone else has any more questions.
well, people have questions about what happened to Gnome, and I'm going to drop this to you, Michelle. I don't know if
Oh yeah.
you upload it because it's pretty good. She got
Oh,
her. She got her.
are you talking about the Dan Goldman
No, no, I'm talking about
questioning?
Delia Ramirez.
Oh,
Uh,
I don't know about this.
oh yeah, I just dropped it. If you could, but it's
Okay.
crazy. Um, and then there's two actually. There's one from Congressman Seth Magaziner also. We should watch both because they're both crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me, because I don't know that I can just play this here. I would have to. Oh, I can download this. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes they.
On the record.
Oops. Sometimes there's a setting. Okay, hold on. Video 1. There's a setting on Twitter where you can allow people to download your videos, and sometimes people leave it on, and some people don't leave it on. So that
this went so poorly for her that she pretended that she had to go to a meeting, but it turned out the meeting had already been canceled.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But did you see the Dan Goldman questioning? Because that was pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, I just happened to watch that right when I got up this morning. And I gotta say, watching that, I'm like, Brad Lander, what are you doing? What are you doing, Brad Lander, primarying Dan Goldman? Why?
Oh, I'll tell you why. Wait, I know the answer.
Can you please go?
I know the answer. The answer is because Zoran Mandani wants Dan Goldman gone. And why does he want Dan Goldman gone? Dan Goldman is a really staunch supporter of Israel.
Yep.
And that's why Brad Lander is primarying him. And
because he's like, I'm not going to have you in my administration. I'm not going to do anything with you.
Yeah, because Lander wanted to be in the administration.
Yeah, like they were like this during the primary because we were
and he said, nope, you got a primary Dan Goldman.
I knew it. I knew it. I was like, this is not going to work out for him. Anyways, here's the first video. Oh, that's not it.
You lied on the record, and you lied to members of this committee.
There's no American citizens have been arrested or detained. We focus on those that are here illegally.
Secretary Noem, you lie and you lied to the American people. I will be including into the record an article by ProPublica from October 16, 2025, entitled, "We found that more than 170 U.S. citizens have been held by immigration agents. They've been kicked." There's nothing smiling about U.S. citizens. I'm sorry, that's very inappropriate. Let me continue. They've been kicked, dragged, and detained for days.
The Trump administration has specifically targeted the worst of the worst. The individuals that we are going after are those that are violent criminals, those that are breaking our laws.
Secretary Noem, again, you lied to the American people. I will be including into the record an article by the NBC News from December 7, 2025, entitled, "ICE has arrested nearly 75,000 people with no criminal records, data shows." Do you agree that the judiciary is a co-equal branch of government and it is your obligation as a member of the executive branch to honor decisions made by the highest court of the land? Yes or no, Secretary?
We are abiding by all federal judges' orders.
The Justice Department said that when the administration was ordered back in March to stop sending detained migrants to a mega prison in El Salvador, you personally made the final call to continue the flights anyway. Is that correct?
The decisions that are made on deportations, where flights go and when they go, are my decision at the Department of Homeland Security. And we'll continue to do the right thing, continue to work and protect Americans, no matter what radical judge comes out and tries to stop us.
You lied on the record, and you lied to members of this committee. You violated court orders by not turning around deportation flights bound for El Salvador, where we know that hundreds of people under your leadership have reported that they were raped, they were beaten, and they nearly died. And your agents used chemical weapons in Chicago despite court orders from District Court Judge Ellis forbidding their use. The American people will have justice, Secretary, and you will be held accountable. I'm going to make sure of that every single day.
That's one.
Receipts. Here's number 2.
Secretary, United States military veterans, have you deported?
Sir, we have not deported U.S. citizens or military veterans.
We owe everything to those who have served our country in uniform, particularly those who have served in combat. Do you agree with that?
Sir, I believe that people that are in this United States that are citizens have legal status here.
Madam Secretary, we are joined on Zoom by a gentleman named Se-Jun Park. He is a United States Army combat veteran who was shot twice while serving our country in Panama in 1989. Like many veterans, he struggled with PTSD and substance abuse after his service. He was arrested in the 1990s for some minor drug offenses, nothing serious. He never hurt anyone besides himself, and he's been clean and sober for 14 years. He is a combat veteran, a Purple Heart recipient. He has sacrificed more for this country than most people ever have. Earlier this year, you deported him to Korea, a country he hasn't lived in since he was 7 years old. Will you join me in thanking Mr. Park for his service to our country?
Sir, I'm grateful for every single person that has served our country and follows our
And
laws.
can you please tell
Knows
Mr.
that our
Park
laws
why
are
you
important
deported
and
him?
every one of them needs to be enforced.
But you understand that many veterans struggle with PTSD, many veterans struggle with substance abuse challenges. This man took 2 bullets for our country. You have broad authority, by the way, as Secretary, to issue humanitarian parole, to do deferred action. Will you commit to at least looking at Mr. Park's case to see if you can help him find a pathway back to this country that he sacrificed so much for?
I will absolutely look at his case, but I want you
Thank
to
you.
remember that
Madam
our
Secretary, the
programs
man
need to have
behind you,
integrity as
please
well.
stand up, sir. His name is Jim Brown from Troy, Missouri. He is a Navy combat veteran who served our country in the Gulf War. He's married to a woman named Donna, who came to our country legally from Ireland when she was 11 years old. She has lived here for 48 years. Because of you, Jim's wife, Donna, has been in prison for the last 4 months. She did not come here illegally, and she has never committed any crime other than writing 2 bad checks totaling $80 10 years ago. She is currently in prison and facing deportation. Ms. Noem, will you thank Mr. Brown for his service to our country?
Thank you, Mr. Brown, for your service to our country.
Now, what possible explanation can there be for locking up his wife for 4 months when she has committed no crime other than writing a couple of bad checks for $80?
Sir, it is not my prerogative, my latitude, or my job to pick and choose which laws in this country get enforced.
You have
and
broad
which ones
discretion
don't.
as the secretary.
We need to follow
You can issue, you
and
can do all
enforce
kinds
the
of things,
laws.
but you're choosing not to. Will you commit again to just reviewing Donna's case and reuniting this combat veteran with his beloved wife, who also loves this country?
I will review the case.
Don't call us Nazis. Well, stop acting like a Nazi, Kristi Noem. And I have a third video here. I have Dan Goldman. I'm going to play this.
Immigrants with ongoing asylum applications are legally in this country.
There are individuals in this country that have applications that
And they are legally here because it's a lawful pathway, right?
it's a lawful pathway.
Okay, so
And I
if
will-
your department then deports anyone with an ongoing asylum application, you are violating the law, correct?
Joe Biden left us with.
I'm not asking about Joe Biden. I'm asking you a
1.5
specific
million
question.
cases
If your
backlogged
department
asylum.
deports anyone with
That's
an
the program.
ongoing asylum application,
The
you
program
are
was
violating the
greatly
law. Is that
violated.
correct?
It was greatly violated when they allowed.
I'm
1.5
asking
million
you.
people to come
I'm
in and
asking you.
granted asylum applications.
Why are you filibustering? Why
by
can't you
ignoring
answer the
laws.
question? It's a
Because,
simple
Joe,
question.
your president
If your department
and your secretary
deports
did not
anyone
follow the law,
with an ongoing
applications
asylum
were followed.
application, you are violating the law. Isn't that correct?
the asylum program was
Okay.
broken under the last.
Mr. Chairman, I will reclaim my time. She's not answering the question. But the obvious answer is that yes, if you follow a lawful pathway, asylum is a lawful pathway. If you have an open asylum case, you are here lawfully. But the problem that we are seeing around the country is that you are not following the law.
Yep. Just to be clear, when and if there's ever any justice in this country,
Yeah.
I hope and pray that she's the first to receive it.
Yeah. Yeah. And might I remind people as if anyone needs reminding of this. She shot her dog and then put it in a book. There is something deeply sick about people who hurt animals. She is a sick person. If she does this to her dog, she will do it to human beings.
She has, and she has. She
yeah.
posed in front of a prison in
Mhm.
El Salvador, in front of a gulag, with her
Mhm.
Rolex.
Yep.
Again, everything is content. Everything is content.
That stupid commercial that she did, you know, like on the horseback in front of Mount Rushmore with lighting. And then she shows up in a little costume. Anywhere they go, she's got like a little costume to wear, and she's got her little alleged boyfriend Corey Lewandowski, palling around. Like, let's talk about the kickbacks. Like, who's making the ads? Those are people all connected to Kristi Noem. Those are the people making all the hundreds of millions of dollars in ad buys and ad production that we are paying for. This is, and then she chartered 2 planes for herself
Two private jets.
2 private jets to fly around the world or to fly around the country. These people just, it's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. And we are destroying these people's lives and destroying this country.
Not to mention, if you remember, she did an ad for some dentists down in Texas.
Oh my God, that's right.
Right?
Oh my God.
Texas, nowhere near South Dakota, where she was the governor. She suddenly did an ad in Texas as the governor of South Dakota for a dentist because he gave her veneers.
Oh my God.
Probably for free. Or at a
yeah, of course it was free.
Discount.
Yeah, this is because she doesn't want to have to pay for anything. I mean, why would she want to pay for something? So she'll hawk some, give people oh yeah, sure, I'll do a commercial for you.
Yeah, with the lips, the whole
yeah. I'd be happy to do that. Ugh, she's the worst. Just the worst.
And
was it Carter Page, by the way? Was it Carter Page?
Carter Page? No. This was way before.
Because that's who was going in through my head. Never mind. So it wasn't Carter Page. Okay. Okay.
God, it's on the tip of my tongue. I will remember it before maybe we'll talk about it during coffee conversation tomorrow. I'll try to remember. And then you have this administration telling our European allies and others, people in Japan, people who don't need visas to come here, typically, countries with which we're allied and have a good relationship and have, I guess, an intelligence or sharing relationship, don't need a visa to come here. They have a visa waiver. They're now asking them to turn over like 5 to 10 years worth of social media information about where they lived, information on their family. Who the hell is going to come here? And by the way, tourism is already down, I think, over 8% this year. That is billions of dollars. Like, if you're from another country and you just want to come here for a long weekend, you're going to go through that shit. You're going to submit your social media information and your family's information and your address and your phone numbers from 10 years ago. I couldn't remember my address from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, are you kidding me? And my family?
And the phone numbers? I mean, like, what?
Yeah, like, you're going to drag my family into your bullshit? I don't think so.
Yeah, and listen, I'm sure they're saying this.
And you're right. And somebody said they also want DNA samples. Yeah, DNA samples. Yep.
Oh yeah. There's something I'm gonna show here really quick. That comes up on my feed every now and then. I might get a copyright flag on this, so if you're watching this later and it's not here, I had to take it out. There's a scene in Succession when Tom is, there's a guy who works for the network, the news network, that has a reputation or has had accusations of being a Nazi apologist. And so Tom has to pull him into the office to question him. And if you are watching this exchange, it's brilliant. It's brilliantly written. It's like brilliantly performed. But if you look behind the guy on the TV, it's just, in hindsight now, you kind of can't believe it. Just watch this.
Been a member of the Nazi Party of the United States, have you? Come on, Tom, are you serious?
Look on the TV.
Nope. Thank you. Sorry to have to even ask. And oh yes, the Hitler dog thing. Okay, the dog thing is bullshit. Great. I thought so. Different spelling. Okay, different spelling. Yeah. Okay, and this other one that came up, just to fend this off. Have you ever read Mein Kampf? Yeah, a couple times, I guess. Couple times? Are there Easter eggs in there you didn't get the first time? Look, I'm interested in that period of history, Tom, okay? I've skimmed it. Skimmed, yeah, thank you. And what specifically do you find interesting about that period of history?
The scale, the tragedy.
Hell yeah. Yeah, and which tragedies specifically?
Europe decimated. 7 million Germans, 20 million Russians, 5 million Poles.
Yeah. Just checking the till here, Mark, and it seems you're short a few million.
So if you couldn't see, that is Kristi Noem, the Congresswoman, standing, giving a speech on the floor on TV behind the guy being questioned if he's a Nazi. I mean, wow.
Yeah. That was a great show.
The best.
Yeah, show was really, really good. All right, Michelle. Well, yeah, you probably couldn't see that it was Kristi Noem giving a speech as a congresswoman because she looks very different these days.
She does. She looks she looks a little quaint in that clip.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. John Palmeter. I didn't have access, so I didn't start Succession until last year, and I could only take a few seasons because it was too late, too close to home.
Well, yeah, that Murdoch's daughter.
Try being somebody who used to work at Fox. You'll understand. For the Murdochs, you'll understand how close to home it was. Gretchen Carlson will not watch that show.
Yeah,
It's close to home for her.
Well, yeah, and it wasn't Rupert Murdoch. No, Rupert Murdoch's daughter, right, was feeding the writers some storylines, and like there was some stuff very early on that actually happened. There was where they all go to that retreat and they have to go to like family therapy and stuff like that was a thing that actually happened. There's been like a lot of stories written about this. But like the cast, it just props to that cast, man. Sarah Snook and Kieran Culkin. I will say, and I'm not saying he's a bad person. He is not, but I used to pal around with him a lot when I was younger. We had the same group of friends. And there's a lot of like, I don't know, kind of like trolly kind of demeanor, like mannerisms about him. That when I watch that show, I'm like, that's him. Yeah. And Jeremy Strong obviously also is just brilliant.
All of them.
You can't think of a single person on that show that's like not amazing. What a brilliant show. So yeah.
Okay, guys, we will be back in just a few hours for coffee and not coffee conversation. I'm so sorry. Nope. Confusing our shows for
what day is it?
I know for Judge Jarvis. We've all had a very long week. I feel like every week's a very long week these days. I just want to.
My
husband is sending me surreptitious emails with no comment about how lack of sleep leads to horrible health outcomes. So.
Oh, is he just kind of being like, "Oh, I was reading this," and just sending you?
He's like, "I was reading this, and by the way, you're going to die soon." Yes,
it probably has some sort of heart condition, or or my skin's just gonna start to fall off my skull,
like Raiders of the Lost Ark. We just start melting.
Right. This is why every day I'm putting on my retinol, being like, "No, stay up, stay up."
Okay, so. We are going to be back at 11 o'clock with Jeff Jarvis. Michelle, we're dropping our podcast today.
Yes.
Okay. We're dropping our podcast today. So there are people in the chat who are asking what we asked Congressman Himes about. You'll have to check out the podcast to find out.
Yep. And we're going to drop that today. So make sure that you like and subscribe to the Mayday Network on YouTube, and also go and find us on Apple Podcasts. that is where we are going to exclusively be uploading our podcast from now on. Not Spotify, because they are allowing advertisements from ICE, and that is not we're not cool with that. So so like and subscribe to the Mayday Network. Make sure to hit the like button down here. And you'll be the first to find out when our new shows and podcasts are uploaded.
And I'm going to be an MS now, not later, but now. Well, actually, it is going to be later at 1:30 p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
I'm going to actually be joined by former Congresswoman Susan Wild, which I'm so happy about because she represented the district that we have a house in Pennsylvania, the swingiest district in the swingiest state in the nation.
Somebody is asking, are we going to move it to Substack? No, probably not. I mean, unless we, expand. I mean, right now it's like there's only so many hours in the day that we can manage platforms. But I think if we expanded and like wanted a place for people to publish their writing or something like that, I think that would be something. But that's not really anything I'm thinking about right now.
No, we're trying to give YouTube a go. So we might maybe stream some of these podcasts to Substack just to get people from Substack to come over to YouTube. To talk about that, but certainly, but certainly not.
And Jane from Pittsburgh, 1:30 p.m. is when
1:30 p.m.
Eastern. Now, just the worst branding I've ever. It's pretty bad.
MS Now. Jennings hasn't been on Abby's show. Did they ask him for being a douche? Oh no, I'm sure he's probably getting ready to have his own show.
Wait, can you say really quick who you got a message from yesterday or no?
Yeah. Well, I got it again this morning, just as we were doing the show.
Got it again? Okay. So the other day, guys, as I was saying, so like the night before my husband's birthday, we went to the Russian Samovar for dinner in Midtown because my husband's coworkers and former coworkers wanted to take him out to dinner. And so it was really bad weather. And so like we couldn't get a cab. So we had to take the train home. So we get on the C train. I get on, and literally one stop later, this guy gets on with this woman, sits in front of me. And I'm like, it's Mark Halperin. The Mark Halperin rode for probably 5 or 6 stops, talking loudly, had to be held back from not shouting at this man for all of his horrible behavior. Even more specifically, and most recently, starting a media company with Megyn Kelly and sitting there while she talks about blowing off people's limbs and how she wants, she has a bloodlust for it. So Mark Halperin's a terrible person. And we were talking about him on this show. And Julie?
Well, yesterday I text Michelle because I said, Michelle, didn't we just talk about Mark Halperin? And Michelle said, yes. And I said, OMG, Michelle. And I forwarded her an invite from Mark Halperin to be on his show tonight. And I gotta wonder, does he not like?
Right. First of all, Julie sued Roger Ailes and Fox News, okay, for harassment and then what happened to you at Phil Murphy's campaign. And then she started Lift Our Voices with Gretchen Carlson that passes legislation to protect women in the workplace against people like Mark Halperin. So
not to mention the number of women who I spoke to whose careers were ruined by Mark Halperin because they wouldn't go along.
Yeah, he's a bad guy. Really bad guy. There is no such thing as cancel culture for white guys like Mark Halperin, by the way.
I will not be joining Mark Halperin tonight.
No, but they wrote you again this morning.
Yes,
unbelievable.
Yes. But I will be at MS
now
at 1:30 with the wonderful Chris Jansing, who is fantastic, and I love her, and she's great.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
And if you ever want some good restaurant recommendations from New York City, Chris Jansing's your woman. Yeah. She knows the stuff cold.
Maybe next you'll get a DM from Erica Kirk's people.
That's what I said. Didn't I say that to you yesterday? I'm like, what's next? I'm like, Turning Point.
What's next, Erica Kirk?
What's
Interesting
next,
media
boys?
inquiries lately, Julie. Very
Very interesting
interesting
media inquiries lately.
stuff.
True.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway,
Okay. Anyway, we will see everybody in just a little bit with Jeff Jarvis at 11, and we are then going to see you guys tomorrow on Coffee and Conversation. Hopefully, Michelle and I will get some sleep before then.
yeah. See,
And-
I would see. I would yawn again. It's not a good situation.
And on that note, great to see everybody, and see you later.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.